According to new guidelines, nearly half of U.S. adults have high blood pressure. Doctors have lowered the threshold for those who are considered at risk of complications to a new standard. It's 130/80, down from the old standard of 140/90. So this means that 30 million more Americans, mostly under the age of 45, are being urged to make lifestyle changes like eating healthier and exercising more. But if your blood pressure is between 130 and 140, you may not need medication. Joining us now to discuss, Dr. Nicole, Saphier, radiologist at Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center, and Dr. Marc Siegel of the Fox News Medical Aid Team, also NYU Langone Professor of Medicine. Hey, guys, thanks for joining us.
Good to see you. Thanks
for having us.
Dr. Saphier, let me start with you. Why did they make this change? Apparently, it's 50% of men now and 38% of women. That is a large swath of the adult population.
These new guidelines are the first change in 14 years. You know, cardiovascular disease, high blood pressure, it's the #1 killer in the United States. So the fact that nothing's changed in 14 years means we're not doing a very good job if you have 1 of 3 Americans dying from
So
this.
is this more of a public relations thing to scare us more into taking action, or is this a revelation within the medical community that, hey, you know what, these numbers need to be adjusted?
It's a little bit of both. I will say that the study that really came down with these guidelines is a great study. A lot of effort went into it. And I think it's going to be eye-opening for the population. But it's not, hey, here's some medication, here's some medication. We need to focus on lifestyle modifications.
Today is National Diabetes Day. So also, Dr. Siegel, we know, we're overweight. We sit around, we play video games, particularly younger Americans. I think that's one of the shocking revelations with this.
And Charles, that's point one here, because the study that Nicole was talking about, the SPRINT trial a couple of years ago, showed a shocking difference in death rate depending on where your blood pressure was. And if you had that 140/90, you were over 40% more likely to die of heart disease, over 25% more likely to die, period. So that's why the American Heart Association took it so seriously. But what they also are saying, and I have to say, as someone that's seen people with high blood pressure my whole career, I already was doing this, and I'm not alone. But we need doctors that aren't doing this to pay attention. And it's not like we slap people on medication, like Dr. Saphier said. What we do is, at 130/80, we might say, as you just said, how about a little exercise? How about some weight loss? How about changing your diet? Let's do it slowly over time. And then, if we can't do it, or if you're 140/90, then we treat with medication.
Right. What about the idea, though, that people will say, hey, give me a pill to fix it, rather than, getting some sweat in there and changing lifestyles?
Well, 20% of our youth right now are already overweight. So America's changing. This is an epidemic in itself. And you're right, the easy fix is going to be a medication. But it is important for physicians that see patients, like Dr. Siegel is saying, you have to emphasize there has to be lifestyle modifications, because this starts at the patient level, in the home, in the family. You have to have better lifestyles. A single pill is not going to fix it all.
Doctor that's always telling you to lose weight. Let me ask you guys about some breaking news late yesterday. Bill Gates putting $100 million toward dementia. Apparently, people in his family have dementia. I didn't realize this, but 47 million people around the world. It cost the economy $604 billion. It sounds like a lot of money, but we know billions have been spent on cancer. How big of a problem is that? Because all of a sudden in the last decade, you hear about dementia more than you've ever heard about it before.
Well, dementia is, right now it's called the 6th leading cause of death in the United States. It's really like the 3rd. It's just underdiagnosed. So absolutely, you have to put money into this. If Americans are living longer, people are living longer, but the quality of life, we need to make sure it's there for them. And unfortunately, right now, dementia and Alzheimer's being the most common one, we don't understand it. Right. We don't necessarily understand exactly what causes it, and we don't know how to treat it, and we don't know how to diagnose it. Right. So you can only definitively diagnose it at death.
Right. At one point, I know there was a lot of excitement about plaque therapies or plaque building up, but I don't know, it felt like that faded away.
That's right, but I'll tell you, Charles, one exciting advance over the last couple of years is we finally figured out that the protein beta amyloid is really responsible for a lot of the deterioration. So a lot of genetic research is going on right now about preventing that beta amyloid protein from building up or blocking the receptor. And here again, we have personalized medicine where it might work for you, it might not work for me. Right. And I want to say one other thing. In her field, in Dr. Saphier's field of neuroimaging, and she knows a lot more about this than me, there's new advances in terms of being able to see this earlier in the brain.
Right. Dr. Siegel, Dr. Saphier, thank you both very, very much. Two really critical stories. Appreciate it.